Hello students, how are you? Students, yesterday I explained fifth part of the lesson. Now today I am going to explain sixth part of it. Now listen. A fisherman, perhaps Sadao sat, watched from his boat. Students, while Dr. Sadao and Hana were looking at the man who was lying on his face on the sand, Dr. Sadao guessed and told his wife Hana that the man would be a fisherman who was thrown away from his boat by the huge wave. He ran quickly down the steps, and behind him, Hana came, her white fleece flying. After guessing that, Dr. Sadao moved down the stairs quickly and ran towards the man. His wife followed him. While his wife Hana was following him, the sleeves of her haroi, which she was wearing that time, were flying in the air. A mile or two away on the either side there were fishing villages, but here was only the bare and lonely coast dangerous with rocks. While moving towards the man, Dr. Sadao was thinking that the villages where fishermen were living were at a distance of 1 or 2 miles from the place where the man was lying, and that place was a coast. That place was a deserted and lonely coast with pointed rocks, dangerous rocks. The surf beyond the beach was spiked with rocks, and those pointed rocks were covered with the surf, were covered with the white colored topmost part of the waves. And after being covered, the topmost part of the white colored topmost part of the wave, the sharpness of the rocks could not be detected. That is why they were dangerous. Somehow the man had managed to come through them. He must be badly torn. Dr. Sadao was thinking, somehow the man had managed to move through those rocks, and while moving through those rocks, he must have badly injured. He must have badly torn by those pointed rocks. They saw when they came toward him that indeed it was so. The sand on one side of him had already a stain of red soaking through. When they reached near him, means when they were at a little distance from him, they saw that the sand on one side of him was stained with his blood. That is why Dr. Sadao was sure. That is why Dr. Sadao was sure that the man was really injured badly. He is wounded, Sadao exclaimed. After that, Dr. Sadao exclaimed that the man was wounded. He made a haste to the man who lay motionless, his face in the sand. And in order to help that man, Dr. Sadao approached the man who lay motionless on the sand, because Dr. Sadao was a doctor. And after looking at the injured man, he approached him quickly. An old cap stuck to his head, soaked with seawater, and an old cap blocked his head. An old cap soaked with seawater blocked his head. He was in wet rags of garment, and the man was wearing worn and torn clothes. Sadao stopped Hannah at his side and till the man said they saw the face. Sadao stopped to turn the man in order to see his face. While that Sadao was turning the man, Hannah was standing at his side. And that when that Sadao turned the man, then they saw that Sadao and Hannah saw his face. A white man, Hannah whispered. After watching the face of that man, Hannah said slowly that it was a white man. Yes, it was a white man. The wet cap fell away and there was a wet yellow hair, long as though for many weeks it had not been cut. And upon his young and tortured face was a rough yellow beard. Yes, it was a white man. The wet cap fell away from his head because that Sadao turned that man, and when that Sadao turned that man, then he lay on his back. At first he was lying on his face. When that Sadao turned the man, he lay on his back. And when he lay on his back, then the cap which blocked his head was thrown away. And when the cap was thrown away, then they saw the color of his hair. They saw that he had yellow colored hair, which were so long as they were not being cut for many weeks. And he had also a yellow colored beard. He was unconscious and knew nothing that they did for him. And that time the man was unconscious and he did not know anything what that Sadao and Hannah were doing. Now students, I think you will have understood the meaning of this part of the lesson. Now I request you to read and write the explanation, and tomorrow I will explain next part of it. Thank you and have a nice day.